Yo, what is up guys, welcome to a new video. Today I'm gonna show you 7 tips to make your tracks more emotional. These tips are gonna be good for any genre, but of course, you need to think that most aggressive genres maybe don't really fit in this kind of emotional songs, and these kind of tricks and this kind of emotional songs fit better on progressive house, maybe melodic hardstyle, future bass or things like that, and not that much on big room or hardcore or raw style or something like that. But as I always say, you just can try and maybe fits, who knows. So you also need to think that kind of softer sounds is gonna help more. So for example, if you're making progressive house, softer leads are gonna be better for these kind of emotional songs that, for example, most aggressive leads like we use in big room or something like that. I also want to say that if you didn't know, I released a progressive house masterclass where I show you all these tips and a lot of other tips. Well, basically I show you everything I use and everything I do to make a progressive house song, and if you make other genres, it can be also good for you. The link is down in the description, and if you want to know more about it, I have a video on YouTube, I think 2 videos before this one, where I show you everything, so just check the video. And with all of that being said, let's start with this tutorial. Alright, the first tip is gonna be to make good chords. In my opinion, chords are the most important thing to make emotional songs. If your chords are not that kind of emotional, your track is not gonna sound emotional. So to make good chords, what I recommend you is 3 things. The first thing is, of course, learn how to make chords, learn about music theory and all that kind of stuff. The second thing would be to use MIDI files, and the third thing would be just to copy chords. But of course, if you use MIDIs or if you copy chords, my advice is to always try to vary it and change a little bit. And yeah, I said copy chords because chords is not something that has copyright, so you can just copy from other people, and also most of the songs have kind of similar chords. And let me explain all of this in FL Studio. I just load the FL keys, and here I have in the background I have the F minor key. So let's say that you want to start your chord progression with F, so you create your chord, it would be something like this. So for the next chord you have some limited options, and imagine that you just want to use this chord. Probably another person has already used this chord progression from F to D sharp. And then if you go, for example, to C, probably another person have made the same chord progression. So basically at the end you have a chord progression that other people have used. So let's say that at the end we have this chord progression. We can take this chord progression from a MIDI, or we can take this chord progression from another song. So what can we do to make it sound a bit more different? Well, my advice is just to try to work with it. So for example, what you can do is just move chords. So instead of having the first one on F and the third on C, just change positions, and now it sounds like this. Maybe this one is not the best one, but you know what I mean. Or also another thing I like to do is change the rhythm of the chords. So instead of having just one chord every bar, what I like to do is do something more like this or something like this. The second tip would be to use the 7th note of your chord. Usually on a chord we have 3 notes, and most of the times there are the 1st, the 3rd and the 5th. So just try to add another note that is the 7th. So if we are in this chord, in the F chord, if we count inside the scale, this is the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th and the 7th. Okay, so just put this one. And do the same with all of the chords. What you can do instead of counting is just look the previous one. So this is the 7th. So just put it 1 octave higher. So now we have these 4 notes, the 7th, so without it, it sounds like this. But with them, it sounds like this. As you can see, it sounds instantly a lot more emotional. The third tip would be to use more reverb. Dry things tend to sound a bit less beautiful and less emotional, but not of course 100% reverb like this. But try to add a reverb that you can hear, and try to use kind of long decays for that, like this way. Tip number 4 is to use sounds in the background that are just playing the root note of your key. So what I did here, I just have this chord progression, the previous one, and here I have this string sound, this playing just one note. As in this case is E, what we have to do is just put it in the root note of our key, so it's F. But of course, as I said in the previous tip, you need to add reverb. So in this case, what I did is have the same reverb as the piano, but a bit more on the mix, so this way is more in the background than the pianos, and it sounds like this. As you can see, it sounds a lot more emotional, but also what you can do is instead of just playing the root note of your key, use the relative major, or if you're in a major scale, just use the relative minor. If you don't know what this is the camel wheel, and what it says is all the keys that exist. So we are in F minor, this one, and the relative major of F minor is this one, A flat major, that is G sharp major. So what we can do is instead of having this in F, have it on G sharp. As you can see, it also sounds pretty cool, but these things need to be in the background. That's why I added more reverb than in the piano. And also, you need to just lower the volume, and sometimes what I do is also cut the highs, so this way it fits more in the background, and it's just there covering some space and just giving some harmonies and make it sound more emotional. The tip number 5 is gonna be to use an arpeggio. For this kind of sounds, what I like to use is some kind of plucky sound. So here I have this pluck sound. And what I'm gonna do is just copy the chords from the piano, then open the piano roll and click Alt A. So it's gonna create an arpeggio, but as you can see, it's not using all the notes. So what I recommend you to do is just take the 3 more important notes of your chords. So now we have the basic chord progression, and if we click Alt A, as you can see, FL Studio, it already creates the arpeggio, and here you can just tweak it the way you want it. My advice is just to have it on normal and here on chord. And also with this thing, you can make it faster or slower. My advice is also to have it in this one. So if we play it, it's gonna sound like this. But of course, it's too dry. So if we come back to tip number 3, we need reverb. So for this kind of ARPS, the first thing I like to do is just with the transient processor, reduce a little bit of the attack so it sounds a bit softer. Then with an EQ, of course, just cut the lows, and I try to reduce a little bit the highs, because if you have less highs, it's gonna sit more in the background. Then what I like to do is to use a delay. In this case, I use the ping pong delay. Then you need a reverb. And finally, the thing I like to do is to open it more, to put it more in the sides, because this way you give more space to the piano that is in the center for the vocal, if you have a vocal. The tip number 6 is to use more sounds for the chords. Try to use more pads, try to use strings, try to use voices during the chords, try to use all the kind of stuff that is gonna cover more space, and at the end it's gonna make it sound a lot more emotional than just a piano. So for example, here I added this pad, these strings, and these voices, and all together sound like this. So if we play the piano just by itself, sounds like this, but if we play with all of this, and last but not least, the tip number 7 is to use more atmosphere sounds. Atmosphere sounds that are in the background, just like rain, wind, synth sounds in the background, can help a lot to cover more space and to make everything sound more emotional. And if you use sounds that have a key, come back to tip number 4 and use the root note or the relative major or relative minor if you use major keys. And this way it's gonna feel a lot better. And an atmosphere sound that I like to use a lot are the reverb plugs. Reverb plugs are so good. What you can do is just maybe put it at the beginning of every 4 bars, or maybe try to add some rhythm to it and put it off beat, you know, or something like this. So here I have these 4 sounds, just the rain, this sound, this one, and this one. So I just took the first 4 I found, and them together sound like this. If we put the ambient sounds together with the piano, as you can see, it covers a lot of space in the background and it creates like a more emotional theme. So if we play the piano just with the normal chords, and if we put all the tips together, we put the 7th, we put the long string in the background, we put the ambient sound, the ARP and the reverb and everything, it's gonna sound like this. Of course, take care that this is not mixed and it's not well EQ'd, so maybe it can sound a bit muddy, but just take care about how emotional it sounds. So well guys, these are my tips to make you try some more emotional. You can use 1, you can use 2, you can use the 7, just depends on you, just try them. If you have some more tips, just leave it down below in the comments, I would love to hear them. And also what you need to know is that you can use this in the drop. For example, what you can do is in the first part of the drop just have the normal chords, and in the second part just put the 7th. Or for example, in the second part of the drop, what you can do is just try to put more chord sound, just maybe some string, just voices or whatever. What you're gonna be doing is add more emotional feeling because you are adding more harmonies, so it's also gonna sound good. And guys, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget that I've released a masterclass, so just check it, the link is down in the description as I said, or I have a YouTube video where I explain everything, just check it out. Thank you for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and guys, see you in the next video.